Shock. I felt like I was in a Lifetime movie. I had not done anything wrong, I had not broken any laws. I was accused of something that I didn't do.
In just 15 short minutes, Carol Hummerich-House's world was turned upside down. A Harris County judge decided she was so dangerous, she needed to be slapped with a lifetime protective order banning her from ever going onto her late father's property again.
To issue a lifetime protective order, were you ever charged with a crime?
No.
Were you ever told you were trespassing on someone else's property? Lifetime. Lifetime.
By all accounts, Carol had always been a law-abiding citizen. The biggest legal trouble, she said, traffic tickets.
I've never been accused of anything before.
That changed when a distant family relative, Carol barely knew, claimed that Carol had pushed her during a visit they had made to her late dad's property. She took Carol to court.
And what was your reaction when you found out that you were accused of this?
Shock, disbelief, speechless.
Carol was confident that once she presented her case, it was a no-brainer. But was she in for a nasty surprise?
I mean, I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Her guns were taken from her, even her husband's guns, and he wasn't even a party to the lawsuit.
I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I was stressed, antsy.
This may sound like something that happens in communist China. You know, someplace where civil rights and due process, well, they don't really exist. But in fact, it's happening right here in Houston, Texas, in the 280th District Court. And it's happening every day in fights over custody and children, fights between husbands and wives.
I got a lifetime ban and my kid was taken away from me like I'm in communist China.
The 280th District Court was set up by lawmakers in 2009 as a dedicated domestic violence court, set up to help ease Harris County's backlog of cases, since the long waits for a protective order in especially violent cases had had deadly consequences. It sounded like a great idea, but for the past few years, lawyers across the county have been sounding the alarm that something is terribly wrong in this courtroom.
It's like an alternate universe. It really feels like Soviet Russia in a lot of ways.
One lawyer says it's the open secret of the family bar that you can bypass due process, even the Constitution, by coming here. Attorney Carliana Farias documented the startling numbers to the Court of Appeals, and it should shock you. As of March 2020, the current judge had denied only 3% of all the requests for protection, 22 out of 658. Of the 354 requests involving children, the judge had just denied 2 of them, just 2. A recent study conducted by YouGov suggested up to 20 million adults are falsely accused of violence or sexual misconduct in child custody cases alone. But wait till you see how long these protective orders are issued for in the 280th District Court. 69% of the orders are for longer than 2 years. A whopping 82% of these orders are literally for a lifetime. That means missing out on all your kids' soccer games, teaching them how to drive, senior prom, even their adult lives.
Attorneys say the embattled judge hands out lifetime protective orders like cupcakes.
Who does that?
She does.
Judge Stalder, that's who does that.
Judge Barbara Stalder, the judge behind all these questionable orders.
I believe that I am a very fine choice for this bench.
Stalder has an unusual resume for a judge. She ran her campaign as a domestic abuse survivor in the November 2018 election.
I've been working in this area since 1991, 15 years as a lawyer. I'm a survivor myself.
She is a victim of family violence herself. And while we completely sympathize with that and have no tolerance for that kind of thing, clearly she cannot be unbiased.
And that's the complaint, that Judge Stalder is using the bench to settle her personal score, failing to give defendants a right to even a fair trial. And it does say that in the Constitution.
And will, to the best of my ability, defend and protect
The Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States.
of the United States.
We investigate lots of family law cases here at Dolcefino Consulting, and we all know that sometimes the allegations of abuse are simply not true.
It didn't matter what I said, what my attorney said, what the peace officer had to say, or witnesses. I was guilty in her eyes before, as the moment she walked in there.
God forbid you land into the 280th. You can expect a system that would be comparable to a communist country, an authoritarian government. because there are no objections in that court.
Sadly, Carol's story, it's not a fluke. Speaking at a rare June press conference, victims shared stories of how Judge Stalder has ripped them from their families, destroyed their lives.
When they have courtrooms like this, it makes it real easy for the injustice to happen. So, I'm just speaking from my personal experience. It's tore our family apart.
John Turner hasn't seen his daughter in 4 years, even though he took a polygraph test to prove allegations his wife made against him were false. CPS didn't buy them either, but none of that mattered to Judge Stalder. The order she signed prohibited this father from seeing his daughter for 17 years. Lawyers are usually unwilling to criticize a sitting judge, but not this one.
And when you have individuals who are falsely accused of family violence, they deserve to have a fair trial. Heck, even those who really committed family violence have a right to a fair trial, and she's robbing them of their rights to a fair trial.
Something's not right with her. I think Judge Stalder should not be hearing family violence cases. I hope the Judicial Commission is looking at the multiple complaints that have been filed.
In July, attorneys penned a letter to the judges of Harris County's family law courts, documenting Judge Stalder's alleged abuse of power, her intentional disregard to due process, and her awful temperament.
The judge was so pissed, so emotional, so pissed off, so visibly upset. She walked out of the courtroom twice, slapping her hands on the desk, stormed out huffing and puffing. She was just so upset. And I'm sitting there going, I'm just trying to try my case.
Attorney Stacey Valdez has also filed a judicial complaint against Judge Stalder, her first time ever doing that against a judge, calling her interruptive and degrading. The judge screaming so violently they could witness spittle on the camera. The lawyer even questions Judge Stalder's mental fitness.
She kicked me out of the hearing and my client out of the hearing on the Zoom, but still took evidence from the government. Like the state was still able to put in evidence and we weren't there to hear it.
In June, Judge Stalder was recused from one of those cases, but others are not so lucky. And every day she's on the bench, the complaints about Judge Stalder just pile up. Check out these ridiculously long Zoom rules. She's been known to block defendants' attorneys from calling witnesses or kicking them out of the Zoom if they don't follow even one of her rules.
She put these draconian Zoom protocols into place that made it almost impossible for individuals to defend themselves.
Some lawyers have figured out they can now use the 280th District Court to circumvent a fight in other family courts.
If you get a protective order, you have pretty much shut down an individual in a family law case, because a judge is going to look at that and they're going to believe that this individual's rights need to be restrained in some way.
The latest complaint is that Judge Stalder is such a sure thing that female illegal immigrants can now use it to gain citizenship with simply an allegation of domestic abuse.
You walk in, 48 hours notice, you get your hearing, you get your protective order, and then you use that protective order and you tell immigration, I'm the victim of family violence.
Carol Hummerichhouse had to call about 6 different lawyers before even one of them was willing to take her case. And it turns out he only took it because he didn't know Judge Stalder's reputation.
They all turned me down. They all stated that they would not go up against Judge Stalder.
That changed after one hearing. That lawyer wanted out, and that's when Carol met Carliana Farias. She wasn't afraid to go up against the judge. She asked to get Judge Stalder accused, and she won. Judge Gloria Lopez held the new trial.
That was like night and day. She was calm, she was respectful, she was professional. She had heard what we had to say. It was just smooth sailing. I did not feel intimidated with her. I felt like justice was going to be served, and it was.
Judge Stalder's punishment may have been dismissed in Carol's case, but now she wants to warn everyone else, because voters have a chance to replace this judge next year.
I want people to know what's happening in her courtroom. I want others, this happens every single day. It's very intimidating. Yeah. It's very scary. It's frightening, and it can ruin your entire life.